I want to salute you, homie, for building your own thing and doing your own thing, creating your own platform, your own website.
With my boy Alfred on MrTaliaferro.com.
MrTaliaferro.com.
Right now, I'm about to go to Walmart.
Just to see you with your logo on your mics.
You're rocking with MrTaliaferro.com.
Y'all go to MrTaliaferro.com. It's going down.
My biggest gift is my voice. It allows me to speak to the culture.
Right now, you're turning up on MrTaliaferro.com, shawty.
I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a react video to Funkmaster Flex 25 minute rant about Drizzy Drake last night on Hot 97 on his late night show. Drake actually had a show in New York at the same time this was going on as well. Drake actually took stage and dissed Funkmaster Flex afterwards. I'll talk about that in another blog, but let's talk about what Funkmaster Flex said. Now, he started the blog off, well, his show off, talking about the reference tracks and how he got his hands on the reference tracks and explaining that whole situation. Now, I don't think anyone cares anymore. I mean, if you had that information then, you should have let it go then. Now, it's not relevant. And also, the whole radio show was pretty much him dropping bombs at comments that weren't necessarily funny, weren't necessarily new information. I'll just say that. Because I got a lot of respect for Funkmaster Flex, a legend in the game. Right now, I don't know if he has that pull of the culture that he believes that he once used to have. I'll say that. But with that being said, Funk Flex, right? He goes on this long rant about how, pretty much Drake knew that Funk Flex knew about how studios work and how he knew Quentin Miller was by his side because who allows rappers to be by their side. And he talked about how Drake could never be top 5 because top 5 rappers or rappers on that list they don't allow people to write their bars or help them out. And he went on to say he understands that Drake's a singer as well. He said he makes great music. He said he makes his music 70% for people who wear high heels and 30% of guys who wear sandals. I'll say this. I don't wear sandals or high heels, and I love the guy's music. He also went back and said he'll pay for a ticket to his show. So that was kind of contradicting to me. How do you pay? What are you wearing then, sandals or high heels? If we all wear that to go to Drake shows, he got into a spill about the BlackBerry incident. Pretty much summed it. I'm not gonna make this 24 minutes. Put it like that. I'll be just pretty much. You can go watch the blog if you're gonna listen to me for 25 minutes. This will be a short podcast for me. He got into a whole spill about the BlackBerry incident, about how, listen, essentially Drake wanted the video of him rapping the bars on a BlackBerry. He wanted that video out, contrary to popular belief that Drake wouldn't want the video out because he wanted people to believe that they were his bars. And he got into a story about how the Drake and his team kept calling the radio station to get Cypher Sounds to put out the video. Funk was like, this is going to ruin this guy's image. But Drake was like, he didn't care. He wanted it out so he could think people would think that those is his bars. I don't know if I believe that all the way, but hey, who knows? I wasn't there. He did say something interesting to me about Jay-Z and Future and the whole I got the keys record. I thought this was interesting. I definitely did take some away from this right here. Future's on the hook of that record. That I got the keys where Jay-Z talked about Drake. 2 things here. DJ Khaled has been on record of saying Jay-Z took the verse, took the hook and what Future did on the record, and he went and put his on it, and DJ Khaled got the record back. So Future did his first, then Jay-Z got the record. He liked the beat, he liked the melody, he liked the hook, then he got it. Flex said that, Future heard the lyrics and then, decided to rock with it, even though he knew that he was talking about Drake in the verses. Number one, I don't think Future cares enough about Jay-Z's lyrics. I think Future's about getting his money and about making good music. I don't think he cares who's Jay's talking about. I don't think he thinks that enough into something Second off, I don't believe that Future even heard the record afterwards. I think this was something that Khaled had his hands on. Maybe he did hear the record, but still, with that being said, I don't think Future cared enough. Flex alluded to the fact that Drake knows that Future heard the record and still didn't mind putting his 2 cents on the record, but that wasn't the case. And Flex alluded to that Drake needs Future at this point in the game. I'm going to do a blog on that because I thought it was an interesting comment. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm going to do a podcast on that one. But it's something interesting to talk about. It's definitely interesting. He was saying Drake doesn't have the eye of the streets, and Future does. And the only way to balance out his crowd at these Summer 16 tours is to do a tour with Future. I'm going to tell you right now, Drake does load his concerts out and his tours out with a lot of stars. But I don't think Drake needs anybody to sell out a venue. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he desperately needs anyone to sell out anything. He is a rapper still, and it's he's closing in on that Rihanna status, but he ain't there yet. Rihanna doesn't need anybody on tour for her to sell out arenas, stadiums. She don't need anybody. I think Drake is pretty close to that. He doesn't need anybody. He doesn't need Future. It helps, but he doesn't need anybody. Future actually benefits from Drake. And I remember the Paradise Tour a while back where Drake had J. Cole, Flocka, French Montana, Meek Mill, 2 Chainz. It was loaded with stars. I think Wale did a few dates. It was loaded with stars, but it was clear. It was clear that Drake was the star of that tour. Regardless of how high Cole was, he was becoming that superstar. It was clear who tour that was. So I think Flex is a little bit out of line, out of pocket with those comments. I get what he was trying to do, spark up some tension between Drake and Future, because that's pretty much Drake's right-hand man right now. If Drake's going to do a mixtape with somebody, he's going to do music with somebody, it's pretty much been Future and everybody. It starts with Future, then it comes on, it trickles on down to everybody else. But I thought that was the most interesting aspect of the podcast. That whole little spill. Other than that, you didn't miss a thing. And I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing with this. I'll say this. Drake has reached the point of no return. If Drake wasn't affected by the reference tracks in the whole summer, last summer of Meek Mill and all that, it's never going to happen for Drake. If he hadn't fell off because of that, people haven't stopped rocking with his music because of that. As a matter of fact, people rock with Drake more because of that, because Drake did hip-hop things. Drake didn't get on Twitter and talk, didn't go to a radio station and talk about Meek Mill. He made records, charged up and back-to-back. He got his point across in 2 records. Meek Mill's still making music about Drake. Drake did what he had to do and left it alone. And he made a stellar diss record in back-to-back. A hard diss record. So if that didn't kill Drake, all the things people have been saying about him, and Meek said he got pissed on. If none of that, if Meek, the guy that we was supposed to say was the street rapper, the bar for bar, the guy that could possibly get up with Drake if it ever happened, if Meek couldn't kill Drake, Flex definitely ain't. And I don't think Flex trying to kill him. I'm just saying Drake's gonna be around for a long time. His music will live forever, and I'm glad that Flex did give Drake credit on the music. He did salute his music, but then he went back and contradicted everything. He said he wouldn't go to the show. He would go to a show, even though he said only high-heel guys and sandal guys go to Drake's show. So that's kind of contradicting to me, but I will say this. Flex and Meek Mill have did one thing to Drake. This is the one thing I'll give them. And I'm going to do a blog on this and a podcast on this. So stay tuned for that. It'll be in the related videos, suggested videos in the corner. I will say this. What Flex and Drake and Meek Mill did do to Drake is, when we have that conversation of top rappers, and when we think about music that Drake has, put out, there's always that thought in the back of my mind that did he write it or not? You don't have that with J. Cole or Kendrick. And I think that's going to become Drake's legacy. I think that's going to become his legacy. You're always going to have that thought in the back of his mind, in your back of your mind. Did he write it or not? A-Rod retires in a few days. After A-Rod's steroid allegation came out, and Barry Bonds as well. every home run, especially Barry Bonds. So stick with Bonds here. Every home run they hit, you know, you couldn't cherish the moment as much as you wanted to from a historical standpoint. You could live in the moment and you can enjoy the home run then, but you couldn't cherish Barry Bonds' career, A-Rod's career, because in the back of your mind you had to think, is he on the juice, steroids in his body? Is that something that we have to think about every time? We got to always think about every home run. So it was hard to put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, or Roger Clemens. I had to take it to baseball here. A-Rod. It's going to be hard to get A-Rod in the Hall of Fame because every home run is going to seem tainted. You can maybe enjoy that moment. We can enjoy the records from Drake in that moment. But when we talk about legends, when we look back and we talk about top five, the Drakes, the Hoves, the Biggies, the Kendricks, Coles, when Drake names in that conversation, a lot of people just going to say, man, I don't know if he wrote his stuff. And when Kendrick puts out a project, even though it takes a couple years, when Cole puts out a project, even though it takes a couple, 2-3 years, we don't have that conversation. That thought process is not something that comes up. Is it their music? We know they wrote their music. We know it's their bars. It's their time they put in the project. And Drake has ruined that for his legacy. And the man sings. I think we take for granted that he's a singer and a rapper. He's doing something that's never been done before. He's a Draker, if that combines the two. But with that being said, there's something that we're always going to think about. Did he write those bars? Are they his bars? And that's where I leave this podcast at. Funk Flex, Drake, Funk Flex, 25-minute spill, a lot about nothing. But he did bring up something that's interesting to me, and I'll talk about it in blogs in the future. I go by the name of Teleferro. You're currently tuning in to Mr. Teleferro TV. Thank you for your time. I don't take it for granted. Salute. I'm out.